you, whether you're here in person, whether you're on Zoom, Facebook Live, whether you watch later in the week on YouTube. Matt posts our talks on YouTube now, and so it's really easy to access our talks and our services. Welcome. I am so happy to see you all this morning. You know, today was the first day in about 3 weeks I've had to really make myself look presentable. So some of you can probably relate to that. You know, it's just chilling, hanging out. Anyway, so actually the topic of the talk got a little confused, and it was because of me, basically, because I think there's something that needs to happen with the sound there. Okay, great. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Rodney. Okay, so yeah, the actual topic of the talk is "It Takes a Village." And the other topic is supposed to be next Sunday. So I sat here when Dawn said that, because clearly she got incorrect information. And it's all, I take responsibility, because I was away and I just, yeah, anyway. So, so anyway, I sat there while Dawn was, and didn't she do a great job hostessing? Yes. Yes. And Jana Young and Lucy Ragnelli, they're all our newer practitioners. Yeah, beautiful. So anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, is there a way I can possibly make it into that other topic? And I thought, not really. Because that's not what you want to talk about. You want to talk about "It Takes a Village" today. You know, first of all, let's just anchor in some principles of oneness. That we're all one. That we're here, every single one of us, is here to localize the divine. To bring the divine wherever we are. To live the divine wherever we are, to shine the light of the divine wherever we are. And so all of us are on this earth plane to be that, to be that. Each of us have within us the fullness. Catch this. I know a lot of people say God is within me. Yes, God is definitely within you. And the truth is, God is all of you. You know, as Goldsmith says in one of his books, the chapter is "In me, as me, is me." You know, or something to that effect. And, you know, but the idea is, yes, it's in, yes, Spirit moves through us, and yes, the truth of it is, each one of us is the divine. Our DNA, and Greg Braden talks about this, our DNA actually says, and he's tested this in all these different languages, God eternal in the human body. That's you. God eternal in the human body. So I love that you sang that song about the body, because that's it, you know, and we honor every part of ourselves. We honor our body temples. We honor our mental bodies, our emotional bodies, you know, the spiritual body, of course. And so we are here presenting Spirit on earth in a way that only we can. Only you can be you. Only you can live you. You know, there's no one else in all of eternity, mind you. Not just right now in this particular time span, but in all of eternity. No one else. And unto all eternity, no one else can be you. You are you. And that is remarkable. That is remarkable, because each of us presents in a unique way, don't we? You know, and we get to see that. We get to see that in our community. We get to see that at our workplaces, those of you that are working. And we get to see that in our families. That's always an interesting seeing how Spirit is being in our families sometimes, isn't that? And it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And so we are all here, and we are here not just to receive, because the truth is we have received all of the givingness of Spirit already. It's already within each and every one of us. And so, you know, I know we talk about praying for things, and the reality is we don't pray for things. What we pray about is to activate those qualities of Spirit within us already. Because when we activate those qualities, then there's a law of the universe that knows exactly how to put them into form. Or I like to say, clothe them in form. And so we're here as Reverend Michael always says, and we say here too, that we are here to be participants. We are here to be participants in life. This is a participatory universe. And by the way, every single aspect of life, everything, from the smallest insect, you know, to the highest mountain, to the largest body of water, all of it is this divine. And all of it is giving to life in a particular way. When I always say all of it and think of the insects, my mind goes to cockroaches. Okay, you're really seeing this, you know? I have to twist my mind a little bit. No, but anyway. It's funny where the mind can go, isn't it? So anyhow, yeah, so we are here to give our gifts. And if you say, I just don't have any gifts different than anybody else's, well, the reality is all of us are gifted with the same qualities of the divine. All of us are gifted with similar talents and skills sometimes. You might say, well, you know, that person over there does it, and they do it so much better than I do. No, 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 no. The truth is, only you can express joy in your particular way. Only you can express love in your particular way. Only you can express health and wholeness and vitality in your particular way. And by the way, that doesn't always look the way we think it should look. None of these things always look the way we think it should look. And the reality is that spirit, you know, our soul, our spirit, which is spirit, is orchestrating our lives beautifully. Our soul is continually bringing forth what we need for growth, for expansion, for us to realize it, the spirit, the soul, the spirit, within us to a greater and greater degree. And how do we do that? Not necessarily by continually receiving, although that's part of it. You know, it's a giving, it's a receiving, it's a law of circulation. And that applies, we talk about it with regard to money, but it's not just money. It's everything. A law of circulation where I give in my life. If I'm giving love in my life, I will receive love in my life. And yet, here's the catch. We don't do it to receive. We do it because the soul wants to give. The soul wants to share. We have been given these gifts, and the soul wants to give and to share these gifts. And so, what happens sometimes is that when we were younger, some of those things got stifled, you know? Any of you ever feel that way? And some of the things, I didn't even see a whole realm of life that was possible because my family lived in a narrow construct, you know, of a particular religion, of a particular political party, of, you know, all of these ways that we grew up, particular school system, and so we all get programmed. And the original program, y'all, the original program is God, God as you. And nothing ever, catch this, nothing ever has hurt, harmed, endangered you. Nothing ever. And you might say, well, that's a little extreme, because some of you, I'm sure, have experienced a lot of hardship in your lives. When I say that, I'm talking about your spirit. I'm not talking about what the physical body might have endured or what the emotional body might have endured. I'm talking about spirit. And basically, when we're in a situation where we've been abused or molested or God knows what kind of situation, or perhaps lived in a family situation that there was never enough or whatever it was, you know, the reality is your spirit has always been free. Your spirit has always been joy. Your spirit has always been love. It's always been there. But we, because as kids, we didn't know any better. We took on a lot of this stuff. We got programmed. Now, some of us knew better, but it wasn't real acceptable to say it, you know. And then finally one day, we get a little older, and especially, you know, some of us got a lot older, and then we realized, oh, that's not the truth at all. That's not my truth at all. And there are also a whole bunch of other people who think and feel the way I do. Whoa, how great is that? So anyway, I'm way off the track here, but that doesn't matter. So back to, first of all, the interconnectedness of life. We are here as one. And do you know, one of my favorite analogies is a jigsaw puzzle. You know, you get that jigsaw puzzle. I used to love to do those. And you get toward the end, and one or two pieces is missing. I mean, if you've ever done them, that's a real disappointment. Yeah. You know, think of yourself living in a jigsaw puzzle on this planet. You know, and when you don't give your gifts, when you don't share your talents, when you don't give in the way that only you can give, no one else can do it. Only you can. When you don't do that, you're like the missing piece. And I know none of us want to be the missing piece. That we all, our soul thirsts to express itself, thirsts to give itself. That's the natural inclination, because we have been gifted so fully, completely, and beautifully. And so we're here to say yes to those gifts. And we're all works in progress. Let's be clear about that. We're all works in progress. We're discovering more, each one of us, every moment. And we're expanding, unfolding. And so we give sometimes a lot more as we're expanding and unfolding. When I was thinking of it takes a village, I was talking about community, like our community, or some of you are, I know, in other communities as well, perhaps in other groups, perhaps your workplace. Wherever you are is really a mini community, really, you know. And it takes a village, and I'm going to use our community as an example. It takes a village to put this on every Sunday. There are a lot of people that you don't see that are doing things behind the scenes. It takes a village. It takes a village, you know, to set up. And, you know, Rodney and Matt and Robert do that every week. Set up the sanctuary. Tear down the sanctuary afterwards. It takes a village. You know, and it takes every single one of you who come and consistently come and allow your consciousness to be here. It takes a village. You know, if we gave a service and nobody came, well, I mean, I guess it would be good for us, but I can tell you as a speaker, it wouldn't be much fun. Because when I think of doing something like this, you know, just in a YouTube or something all by myself and talking to people, it doesn't work real well for me. It's more fun to have all of you around and to feel the collective energy, because when we come together and we're all giving of ourselves by being present, you give of yourself, you are of service by being present. Just your very presence is a gift. Isn't that amazing? How many of us really believe that? My presence is a gift. I want you to turn to somebody right now and say to that person, come on everybody, find somebody. I'm waiting. Okay, there we go. All right, so now say, your presence is a gift. You are magnificent. You are powerful. You are an amazing being of light. And I appreciate you. Thank you for giving your gift. All right. There you go. That's truth. That's truth. If you have to put it on your bathroom mirror, my presence is a gift, you know. Whatever you have to do to remind yourself. Because a lot of us didn't learn that growing up. And we're in reprogramming mode, right? Yes. You know, we can change the motherboard, so to speak. We can, you know, just, what is it, reboot, something, anyway. Some of us have had a few technological things happening lately, and so I'm not good about talking about that. All right, so just delete that last sentence. Do you see, here's the thing, here's the power of awareness, the power of witness consciousness. You notice every moment what you're saying, you know. I notice every moment what I'm saying. It's like, oh, nope, go back and correct that, you know. So consequently, I'm fairly transparent up here. So, so it takes a village. It takes a village. And so I think what I want to encourage all of us to do is to just be present. Where am I to serve? Now, I'm not even talking about just our community here, but where am I to serve? How am I to serve? Because the reality is, if we're not serving, if we're simply in receiving mode, we aren't growing. Because you see, Jack Cornfield, and I'll probably use this reading in another talk, but Jack Cornfield says in his chapter on service, which is a beautiful chapter, in After the Ecstasy, the Laundry, what he says is that service is evidence of the awakened heart. Okay? It's evidence of the awakened heart. I know many of you are of service here, and many of you are in service in the outer community, or in service in many places, is what I know. And that's feeding your soul, and that's growing you. And what I know from my own service and from people who constantly tell me, about how it is for them to serve, that when we serve, we receive more than we give, really. I was down at Agape International. I was a founding member, and I was there for 13 years. And I worked with, I was the founding minister of, well, actually, I was a practitioner at the time, of One from the Heart, which is the pastoral care ministry. It's the same as our heart-to-heart ministry. And I remember when Reverend Michael asked me to do it, I was like, well, I don't even know what it is. What is it? He said, well, you'll vision, get a group of people together, do some visioning, and, and then basically he told me what it entailed, which at that particular time I was more interested in education, so it was like, okay. And something in my heart says you got to do it. And in fact, every single time he asked me to do anything, something in my heart says, do it. And so I did, and we built a beautiful ministry. When I left, we had about 250 people serving just in that ministry, taking care of people, being of service. But my point is, I remember so many of them that we served came back and wanted to serve in that ministry because they felt so loved and so cherished. And they received so much, and then as they served others in ways that they had been served, they received so much. So, service, it's divine circulation. You give, it comes back to you. It's circular. That's just the way it is. You can never lose out by being of service. I remember another time, and I'm just remembering a lot of things right now, but I remember another time when I was having a practitioner session with him, and I said, I think I was at OCSL at the time, and I said, I'm feeling kind of burnt out and and all this stuff, and it was way before I left, by the way. And basically he said, Joan, he said, when you leave this planet, you want to leave all used up. Think about that. Because sometimes we're so hesitant to be of service because we think we're going to lose something, we think we don't have the energy. If it's yours to do, you will have the energy at the time. You will. I guarantee it. I didn't even know what a pastoral care ministry was. And then it unfolded with several ministries within the ministry. By vision, again, how do you discover how you're supposed to serve? Go within yourself. If you know how to do the visioning that Reverend Michael does, do a visioning or do some visionings. If you don't know how to do that, just go within in meditation, in prayer, and ask, how am I to serve? What's mine to give? And it may be what you're doing right now, and it may be something totally different. You never know. We have to kind of live on the edge here, In every moment, be open to what's the new possibility now. What's calling me now? What's calling me now? The other part of that, by the way, is there are times when you have to step back and be served. You know what I'm saying? There are times, and your soul knows when that is. Perhaps you've had a lot of transitions in your life, meaning people dying, or even a lot of transitions in terms of work and other issues. It may be time to step back, to just take a little time away from serving so much and let yourself be served. Sometimes it's called, you're called to that. Follow your heart and know. Because again, when you allow people to serve you, then you are giving them the gift of being of service. So it's a give and it's a take and it's a flow, And just your heart tells you, your heart knows, where am I to be of service? How am I to serve? And I know for me, and Reverend Verona and I have talked about this so many times, that we both grew up in families that they had that consciousness of service. That's what they did. And so we grew up, both of us grew up in that consciousness of I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve, you know. And I realize that not everybody, I've had to realize over time, so I'm not judgmental, you know, that some people didn't grow up that way. That some people it's taken a lifetime to learn to be of service. So I'm just throwing all these things out. And in community, coming back to our spiritual community now, in community sometimes it's so easy to judge and say, well, that person's not showing up all the time. Or, you know, that person's late, or that person's whatever it is. You know, it's tempting. I have to work on myself sometimes with that. And come back to, no, my job is to serve by seeing the divine in these individuals and being so grateful for the service they give. Do you know what I'm saying? So grateful for whatever service they give. So watch yourself, especially if you're someone that does a lot here, watch yourself. I'm just saying. So you don't fall into the judgment trap. Yeah. Because, see, spiritual community, too, this is a whole different talk, but just real quickly, spiritual community isn't all love and light and roses. I mean, it is. It is. It is, you know, deep inside, it is, and that's the consciousness. However, it's an opportunity for growth. You know, spiritual community grows us. We get to deal with all these different people that perhaps we wouldn't have dealt with otherwise. And so, you know, we get to grow. We get to grow in our loving. We get to grow in our abundance. We get to grow in all of these different ways in our lives. That we get to grow to see the beauty in every single person. That's our practice. So what I want to ask you is when you come here, you know, when you are driving here or walking here or however you get here, when you're coming here, are you thinking to yourself, how can I give today? How can I serve today? It can be so simple. It doesn't have to be a big position or anything. It can be so simple. I mentioned that Rodney and Matt and Robert always set up the chairs, and then they get here very early to do that. And then at the end of service, they take them down. And I notice, and I'm not saying this judgmentally, but I notice some people automatically help them. The majority of people aren't even aware that that's happening because they do it so, I don't know, they just do it so humbly and quietly. But, you know, some people help, and I'm thinking like that's one small way, you know, that we can be of service. When we're in the world, what are the small ways that we can be of service? I mean, I've trained myself over the years to just ask every morning, how can I be of service today? How can I serve today? And so I notice, and that plus meditation, witnessing, I notice when I go for a walk. My heart tells me, does somebody need a smile today? My heart tells me, oh, look at that trash over there, you could pick that up. My heart tells me if a dog wants to have a little pet, you know, be petted, you know. My heart tells me. And doesn't have to be big things, y'all. Use your everyday life as practice. When you go to the grocery store. I'm pretty tall, and there are people who are short, and they can't reach the higher shelves. Any of you fall in that category? Anyway, and there have been people, and I notice they're hesitant sometimes to ask, but can you get that jar up there? Yeah, and I love doing it, you know. Sometimes, I just had this funny thing. Well, you might not think it's funny, but it was funny to me. Sometimes a short person could get those things way down there for me. Anyway, you get my point, right? Make it a practice every day, at the beginning of the day. How can I serve? Use me, Spirit. You know the song, Use Me. Use me. How can I be of service today? Not thinking about what you'll get from it, but thinking about it in terms of my soul loves to give. I have all these gifts to give. And you know, Howard Thurman talks about, are you a canal, are you a reservoir, or are you a swamp? Meaning water comes in, you know, and when it doesn't have an outlet to be used, when we don't have an outlet of service, of givingness, we're like a swamp. I don't have to explain what that would be like, but we're like a swamp, you know, and when we're open and we're being of service, we can be a canal, you know, where the water flows freely. We can be a reservoir where the water can be used, you know, for other things. But are you a reservoir, a canal, or a swamp? He has a whole essay about it. So I want to give an example, a couple of examples of people in our community who have been of big service. And I'm talking about, I don't want to mention ministry directors or anything because I always leave someone out, and that's not a good thing. But what I want to do, and one of them actually was a practitioner at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living that I knew for years and worked with her for years, and that was Gretchen Green. And the other one I want to talk about is Reverend Verona. You know, Reverend Verona, again, as I've mentioned, she grew up in the atmosphere and the consciousness of service. That's who she is. She can't help herself. You know, this morning she came early, even though she didn't have to. Officially, she's gone, you know, but she'll never be gone, by the way. And by the way, you notice the beautiful crown? She's the queen. Lucy picked that up for her at her store. Yes, she's the queen. And I said today, when I saw her, I said, you're not only the queen of the day, you're queen of our hearts, and always will be. So I don't even have to enumerate, because you have seen all the ways that she has been of service in this community. She always steps up. One of the ways she has served outside of this community for quite a while now is visiting our beautiful OCSL practitioner, Gretchen Green, who just made her transition last Tuesday. And Gretchen's very dear to my heart. I love her dearly, always have. And she was the epitome of service. I am telling you, that woman, I'm going to let Verona tell you a little bit about her, because she visited her very frequently. And Robin Rice Olmsted did too, who's on Zoom now. Robin, if you want to say something, let Matt know.
So thank you, Reverend Joan. Our Gretchen, not only was she the epitome of service, she lived the principles. She was New Thought, Ageless Wisdom, epitomized as a human being. She was always of service. She was always giving. She was always receiving. She knew how to receive. Gretchen and I were in practitioner training together. We met back in about 2005, 2006, started in 2007, and we were prayer partners in practitioner training. And so I got to be the beneficiary of all of her givingness, all of her wisdom, all of her silliness, all of her artistry, creativity. She is a superb artist. In my home, I have paintings that Gretchen did that would not have spoken to me had I not had the blessing to know her. That she just served in so many different ways. At one point, we, Robin Rice Olmsted and Susan Urquhart Brown, we went to Gretchen and said, could we have an artistry class? Could you teach us how to paint? And she said, oh, of course. So I go to the class. I don't know how to paint. I don't like to paint. I'm only here because I like spending time with you girls. Really, that's who I was in the class. And Gretchen said to me, well, then do whatever it is you'd like to do. If you don't want to be here to paint, just be you. Bring you to the class, and that will enrich the class every time we meet, which is what I did. I didn't end up painting or anything like that. There's not enough words for her. And also I'd like to say that about her transition, I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy because her body temple had stopped serving her in the way that benefited her the most, I believe. Now, I wasn't inside her body temple, but when I would go visit her, she went from being vibrant, intelligent, artistic, steeped in spirit, Gretchen, to someone who could not sit up in bed, to someone who could not feed herself, to someone who had a very challenging time carrying on a conversation. Yet, I want to tell you, and you didn't even know this, the last time I was visiting her with Robin, she did say to me, "Got a man yet? You've been looking for one for a while. Got a man yet?" Which was an ongoing joke between us. However, it took her a few minutes to get that out. So I said that day, "Oh yeah, Gigi is still inside there." Yeah, so however, I'm so happy for her and for us that she came in the body temple and that she's still here right now, this second, today, showing us that we can all be of service.
Thank you, Reverend Verona. Yeah, okay, and Robin has something to say too.
Yeah, everything Verona said is so true. And I just wanted to actually say a little bit about what she said towards the end, because I was thinking she was such a great example of art and beauty and just poetry in motion, as Reverend Joan said, and as Verona said. She was really someone who just walked her talk. And what she taught me at the end, because I am in no way, shape, or form like Reverend, that I am not the person who wants to be around when you're dying. I'm not good at it. I'm not the hospice person. I'm not any of that. But I really fought through that to be with her. And what she taught me was there's so many times when we say, okay, you are more than this. We are more than this. And to see Gretchen in bed, like Verona said, not able to sit up by herself, not able to do anything. And yet her inside of her body, her mind was so there and so present. And like Verona said, got a man yet? If Verona wasn't there when I went, she'd be like, what's going on with Verona? What's da da da? She wanted to know everything about church, what was happening at church, what the gossip was, what all of those things. And it was such a great lesson that really we are more than our body temples. And so what I really know is that a lot of people, when they heard of her transition, we were all like, oh my God, she was so on my mind. And someone else was like, I had a premonition and I knew it was time to go see her. And I know that that was Gretchen, way beyond her body temple, whispering to all of us. And I know that we all have those people in our life that really, if we can be in the stillness, we'll hear them because they're there. She's gone, but she's not gone. She's just everywhere now. And I know that's true of all of our loved ones and people that we miss. So I just encourage you to have a chat, hug somebody that's gone today, and just be there because they're there for you. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. And one of the things that she did at OCSL was she was what we called the ecclesiastical director. She was the one we would meet all the different ministries, and she was the one that oversaw all of them. And so, that, and brought that, and then served on the board, bringing that to the board as well. I mean, she was a yes. She was a yes. And Robin shared with me yesterday that when at a certain point she just released her practitioner license because she felt, here's the thing, listen to this. I think it's another example of her service, that she felt, I can't serve anymore, and so I need to let go of my license. And of course, Reverend Verona and Robin were like, no, because the way I felt about it was, hey, you're of service just by being who you are. You're of service, and I say this to all of you, be that consciousness, that it just seeps out of you, that you are of service, I'm just thinking right now when I was, I went back to ask Robert something, and Leslie immediately jumped up and said, is there something you need? I mean, people in our community that do that all the time. And you can see the people in service, and let's appreciate them right now, the people who always serve, Rodney and Matt and Robert, And then Beverly's been a host. Don is a new host on the field. I mean, we're just blessed with people stepping up and saying yes, yes, yes. And knowing actually, by the way, that it's okay. In this community, it's okay if you make a mistake. So you make a mistake when you're up here. I can't even count how many, it would, hundreds of mistakes on the pulpit. And believe me, you just get humble and go, okay, I remember Reverend Michael saying once that it's a high state of consciousness to let yourself be embarrassed and not be embarrassed about being embarrassed. So I took that to heart. Anyway, so there's so many ways, and I just wanted to point out how many ways. Our board, Jerry's here today, and our practitioners, and again, I said I wasn't going to do this because I'll leave somebody out. So I ask you to just ask yourself, not only how can I be of service in this community, how can I be of service in the world? How can I be of service in the world? Some of our people are on Zoom because they live at a distance now, and they're still of service. They're still being of service. They're still contributing. We're getting quite a lot of Zoom people because so many of our people, especially our practitioners, are moving out of town. So there's a place for you to give if you want to give, and it doesn't have to be this highfalutin position. It can be putting away a chair. If everybody put their own chair away at the end of service, that would be so helpful. It could be, it's always just a smile or a hug. Being that place, you never know when somebody is in this sanctuary and when they're in pain, either physical pain or emotional pain. There usually is. And so just keep your heart open and let yourself serve where you are called and trust yourself. And if you make a mistake, so what? You came from an awakened heart. So I know there were there was a story I wanted to tell. I'll tell it the next time. I know I've kept you a very long time. So I will tell you the story it's a good one. Okay, so I'm gonna call Dawn up because she and I are gonna do the prayer together. I begin the prayer and then she completes it. So just allow